الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. Islam came to bring people not just to the correct beliefs and worships, but also to the best behaviors. Whoever was accepting Islam and entering into Islam was transforming into a much better individual than how they were before Islam. The Prophet ﷺ kept a watchful eye on this transformation that his followers were going through, and whether they were going through a complete transformation or there were still some things left over from the days of ignorance. Once he passed by Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu and observed that he was having some very harsh words with a slave of his. So he was calling him names or swearing at him, you could say. And the swear that he used mentioned the name of the slave's mother. The Prophet ﷺ heard him and verified that, is this really what happened? Abu Dharr radiallahu anhu said that, yes, this is what happened. I was having an argument with him and I insulted him, I cursed him, or I swore at him. The Prophet ﷺ noted, إِنَّكَ امْرُؤٌ فِيكَ جَاهِلِيَّةٌ. You're a person who still has some remnants of those behaviors, those old behaviors of ignorance in you. So, behaviors of ignorance included foul language, included swearing, included vulgar talk. This was not tolerated by Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rather, the Quran wanted people to have, just like it wanted Muslims to have the best behavior, it also wanted them to have the best and the most noble speech. وَقُلْ لِعِبَادِي يَقُولُ الَّتِي هِيَ أَحْسَنُ إِنَّ الشَّيْطَانَ يَنزَغُ بَيْنَهُم. Tell my slaves to speak in the best way possible. Indeed, shaitan will come and distract them, provoke them, and instigate one against the other and get them to say wrong things to each other. But tell them to control themselves and maintain a beautiful and a noble language that they are employing. The Prophet ﷺ told us that the heaviest thing in the scale of deeds on the Day of Judgment, مَا شَيْءٌ أَثْقَلُ فِي مِيزَانِ الْمُؤْمِنِ مِنْ خُلُقٍ حَسَنٍ. There is nothing heavier in the scale of deeds on the Day of Judgment than good conduct, good behavior, good character, nice characteristics. But at the same time, he warned in the same hadith, وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَيُبْغِضُ الْفَاحِشَ الْبَذِيِّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala despises someone who is vulgar and someone who uses foul language. Another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-haya'u min al-iman. Modesty, shame. And when we say modesty and shame, the word haya, it's that instinct, it's that inner feeling that makes you leave something inappropriate, especially in the presence of other people or in the presence of someone that someone is watching. So this feeling that overcomes you that, no, that's probably an inappropriate thing to say, an inappropriate thing to do, that's probably an inappropriate way to act. So you pull back. That quality that helps you pull back from something inappropriate is called haya. The Prophet ﷺ says, Al-haya'u min al-iman. This quality of being able to pull back from something that is not appropriate, this is from iman. Wal imanu fil jannah. The place of iman is, where does iman take everyone? Into Jannah. But in contrast, al-badha, foul language. Al-badha'u min al-jafa. Foul language is from rudeness. It's from crude behavior. It's from rude behavior. Wal-jafa'u fin nar. And rudeness ends up in Jahannam. It takes people to Jahannam. So look at the contrast. Al-haya, that thing that holds you back from rude behavior, from inappropriate behavior, this is a characteristic of iman, and iman will take us to Jannah. But to be foul-mouthed, this is a characteristic of rudeness, and rudeness will take a person into Jahannam. That's why the Prophet ﷺ said, لَيْسَ الْمُؤْمِنُ بِالطَّعَانِ وَلَا اللَّعَانِ وَلَا الْفَاحِشِ وَلَا الْبَذِيء. A true believer will never curse. Never curse things. Will never use bad language. Will never be vulgar. Will never be foul-mouthed. So what happens with us when we listen to certain people, watch certain things, stay in the company of certain people who use a certain type of foul, vulgar, filthy language? We also get inclined in that moment when we're going through a similar experience to use a similar language. A believer will never let themselves fall into that trap. If you think of all bad words, every bad word is just that. It's a bad word. Think of what it means. Think of what it implies. Think of what it's saying. All these bad words are speaking of filth. They're speaking of dirt. They're speaking of something that is very, very low. Why would a person talk about such things? Why would a person use such a word? And remember, everything we say, مَا يَلْفِظُ مِنْ قَوْلٍ إِلَّا لَدَيْهِ رَقِيبٌ عَتِيدٌ. Every word we say is documented. Imagine on the Day of Judgment, somebody opens up their book of deeds and they find all this swear words, curses, foul language, vulgar language, and their sahifa of deeds is filled with it. What will this person do on the Day of Judgment? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has announced through Prophet ﷺ that He hates such people. Why would I allow my tongue that I say the shahada with? I say La ilaha illallah. I say Muhammadur Rasulullah. I recite the Quran with this. I do the dhikr of Allah. I recite in my salat with this same tongue. Why would I use that tongue for such filth? How could I bring myself to that? And imagine if I am taking an impact from someone else's foul language, and tomorrow someone else takes an influence because of my foul language, then I have become a source of someone else displeasing Allah. And it could be that one day I make tawbah and istighfar. Maybe. But if someone else picked up my bad habit, I set a bad example for someone and they continue to do it, then they, whatever sin they incur, will keep coming back to me. And if someone else took a bad influence from them and started cursing and swearing, then it accumulates. Then this person gets the sin of that person, and I would also get the sin of both people now. And it goes on and on. How can we face to that on the Day of Judgment? We simply can't. Therefore, we need to clean our mouths, clean our tongues. These tongues were created for the dhikr of Allah and to say beautiful things, to spread good things. A believer, a true believer, will never allow their tongue to move with such filth and such vulgarity that any decent person would not be able to withstand it. We are an ummah of decency. We have a deen of decency. We have a deen of nobility. Don't use these mouths for filthy things. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala enable us to use our tongues responsibly. Because just like we have to account for everything else, we have to account for the way we use our tongues. Sometimes you don't intend to swear. It just rolls off your tongue. It doesn't matter. A swear is a swear. It's still filth that has rolled off your tongue. This mouth that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created to spread khair in the world, it's spreading filth in the world. I should be ashamed. So think about this. And do not entertain people that are using vulgar language. Don't stay, they are not worthy of your company. Somebody who can't control their tongue is not worthy to sit with. They are not worthy of befriending. Doesn't matter who they are. They are just not worth your time. They are not worth your attention. They're not worth anything until they fix themselves. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala purify our mouths and our hearts and enable us to create an environment where never do we ever have to hear foul language, filthy words, swear words, vulgar things. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep our ears and our tongues and our hearts free from every kind of filth and vulgarity. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.